afternoon and good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. Really happy to be here and take a deep breath and just kind of pull ourselves into this space. Today, we're going to be talking about how we actually have completely unlimited potential. Now, a lot of times in life, and I'll wait for a minute for people to get in. So a lot of times in life, we've been taught that there's like a fated aspect to our lives. And I see that a lot in a lot of different thought processes and programs and even things like, astrology and all of those kinds of things. And yes, all of those things maybe can, like numerology and those things, they can give us maybe indications of things about our core self and all of that. But at the end of the day, again, we each have in our minds the ultimate power of free will. We have the ultimate power, despite any obstacles around us, of making choices to change our destiny. That said, I see a lot of people, and I do mean a lot of people, who end up having, and I think this is in general, we have for a long time, a very long time, we've had a belief that we are fated to live similar lives as our parents, or we are fated to have similar diseases as our parents, okay? And because of that, I see a lot of people who, and again, there's excellent medical science out there. They can tap into genes and all of those kinds of things and talk to you about your risk levels of developing this disease or that disease. But thankfully, another area of science is coming around to kind of catch up with that. And that is something called epigenetics. And it's essentially really, like, in a lot of ways, exact proof of the work that I do, but from a genetic level, that they've now shown. It's very interesting because, like, there's been massive studies, and one of the studies was that they showed that a mother's love or non-love actually turned on and off markers for particular diseases. They've shown time and time again that influences like adverse childhood events, and what are those? Those are things like bullying, traumas, abuse, loss of a parent, loss of anyone that close to you. Those things that are very difficult, traumatic, adverse events actually have an impact, and they have a quantifiable impact on the diseases that you develop later in life. Now, from my perspective, and when we go into like the flow factor and go into deeper into the stations, you'll get a deeper sense of this. But from my perspective, what's going on is that there were certain beliefs coded in at a really deep level from those adverse events. They became, like we've talked about, essentially memory holograms that encoded all the sensory information and the belief that you took on at that traumatic moment in time into your mind. And when that happens, from what I see from my side of it, when people come to me with pain or disease, and they've got very specific pain and disease, I can quickly tell them oftentimes what exact adverse child event might have taken place, and because it's literally how the body is manifesting it. It's usually that literal. I mean, people come in and I can actually tell them, this happened probably around this age, and here's what your body is thinking, and this is why you're having these issues in life, right? It all kind of ties together. So science is finally catching up to show that while there is this major belief that whatever your parents and grandparents had, you have the likelihood. I mean, I have worked with people who are like, well, my mom had diabetes, so I'm going to have diabetes too. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. I can tell you, it's actually very interesting because I can actually tell you when I have somebody who comes in and they are manifesting a disease that is exactly the same or very similar to their parent, I'm usually looking for what beliefs from the parent did they take on as true. Like with diabetes, it's usually an issue of being unable to process the sweetness of life or feeling the sweetness of life. And so with that one particular, I oftentimes am like, well, did you take on this belief from your parent? Because if you took that belief on, then that does increase your likelihood, right, of this disease. However, even further than this, and I'm actually surprised, there's nobody on live right now, so let me pop over. I'm going to pop real quick to Facebook and just make sure that, did I not start the right thing? I think I did. I'm hoping I did. Let me copy my invite. Sorry, I'm hoping I didn't do something screwy here. Copy invite link. Okay, let's just make sure. Facebook, give me one sec, guys. I'm sorry about this pause. Okay. Dream Life Academy, let me see. Okay, just making sure that this is going live in the group as well. Okay, good, there are some people. Okay, sorry about that pause. I just was concerned. Let me just say live right now. Link here. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's the Zoom link. It's probably people are just really busy today. Okay, so let's keep on talking. So beyond just talking about what kinds of diseases and what kinds of things can we take in, that we just take on from these belief patterns. So we're constantly being bombarded, right, with that perspective that we are sort of fated, no matter what, to live a certain kind of life or have a certain kind of thing. The problem is actually quantum physics doesn't actually prove that theory out. Not only in my own work do I see this all the time, but it literally, from quantum physics, it's essentially impossible. So if every single moment in life is a completely new act of creation from this flowing reality undercurrent of waves, then literally nothing can be predicted. I mean, there's quantum physics experiments where physicists are attempting to predict where a particle is going to end up. And even they can't predict exactly where this particle is going to end up, even with the best calculations in the world, right? So how can we predict? How can we just decide that inside ourselves we are fated to have a certain kind of life? You know, we can't. So nothing can really be predetermined. It can't be, because every moment in life is an act of creation, right? So this one particularly drives me crazy. And again, there's fantastic doctors out there, fantastic nurses. In no way am I criticizing the medical profession whatsoever. However, I do have people that will come to me and they'll say something like, well, the doctor told me I had this and it's incurable, or this and they have this much time to live. And I want you to know, like, there's been studies done, massive. I used to do talks for healthcare organizations. There's been massive studies done that the way the authority, and we're going to talk about the authority figures next week, but the way that an authority figure like a doctor puts information into the hands of their patient actually will determine the outcome of that patient's experience. So they have massive studies that if a doctor said you will die in 6 months, it increases the likelihood of you dying almost 6 months to the day, because if your mind says that's an authority figure and I can't question it, you've just accepted it. We'll talk about this next week, about really paying attention to what you're taking in and who is an authority figure in your life and how you're taking those things in. But I mean, I used to talk about this, like even something like a raised eyebrow from a doctor will send a signal to a patient that they are less likely to heal at that institution, right? So there's a lot of, so if you talk to great doctors, which there are many, any doctor worth their salt is going to tell you that there's tons of different factors as to whether somebody's going to heal or not. And people beat the odds all the time, okay? So there's nothing out there that truly is predetermined except what we accept into our minds, okay? We've been taught that we have to accept certain things. But I'm here to tell you that you are literally the ultimate authority over your own life, Okay. And all there is out there, every single moment, as we create right now, as I talk right now, we are creating this reality out of sheer potential, out of complete potential. Okay. So we have to, as humans, release the belief that we are fated to live any certain kind of life. You aren't. You actually have the ultimate control over your body and your mind, and you have the ultimate control over the state of everything in your life. By making these empowered choices, by being part of this program, by working on these underlying beliefs, by doing the work to shift things, you are shifting your mind in such a way to pull up the waves of life around you in a way that align with what you desire. So please never think that you're ever fated to have one thing or another happen. You know, we've all seen people who've grown up with alcoholic parents, and one kid became alcoholic and the other kid went the exact opposite way. Both had the exact same influence in their life, but what was the difference? It was the choices they made, what they saw, and how they made choices to change that, right? We've all seen people that grew up with, certain kinds, maybe a ton of fighting in the house, a ton of, negativity in the house. And instead they went out and said, I'm going to change that. And they made some massive changes at a core belief. And they then manifested maybe a very peaceful house, an unconditionally loving relationship. Okay. If we were all fated to live a certain kind of life, then we'd be walking around like robots. And I do mean, and I know this is like a thing, but I do mean all these like prediction type things that we can do, astrology. Yeah, okay, all right, it might be, whatever in, retrospect or whatever you call it, Mercury in retrograde, that's it. It might be. I'm not saying that's not maybe having an influence on us. It might be. But does that mean we don't have free will to change that? So even if we maybe being able to know that's coming up, we can say, okay, but the thing is, if we give all our belief that, oh God, Mercury is going into retrograde, here goes all the communication stuff, I better not talk, I better not do anything, teach any courses or whatever, because they're all going to go wrong. You've just given all your authority over to something that inherently, from a quantum physics standpoint, can't be true. Cannot be true. I mean, the more of us that believe it, the more likely it is to come into being, certainly. But so whatever the influences you are, be very careful to wherever you put your personal power and the beliefs that you hold around that. Okay. And so that's my little soapbox issue, because I have people, that come to me all the time. Well, I don't know, like the numbers are wrong, or this is wrong, or whatever it is. And it's like, there's no moment in time that's wrong for you to get started doing something or meet the man of your dreams or whatever it is. There's no moment in time that is predetermined to be a wrong time for you to do that. There's none. I don't care what influences are out there. There's none. Because at the end of the day, your connection to the utter and complete potential of the universe, and you're using your mind and your body and your intentions and your expectations, is going to be the thing that helps that reality pop into being. Give away your power to believing that it's just a bad time and all these elements are against you and all that kind of stuff. Give away that power, and yeah, might be a bad time. Probably will manifest some things you don't really want. Okay. But when you take that power back and understand, that's why I'm taking the time to teach you guys the science behind all of this. When you understand the science of this, the science of potential and your power in creation, then why would you give your power to anything else? You don't. You wouldn't. Why would you? Okay. Okay. So the next thing I just wanted to talk about a little bit today is that the concept that we are connected to all at all times can really help those of us that are kind-hearted people, soft people, empath people, not soft. Empaths are actually really strong. Gentle people maybe is a better word. And who really want to change the world, who really want to make a difference in this world, right? And there's so many times, you guys, that I have wonderful human beings, empaths, and I have certainly gone through these periods as well, where it's like, I can't change anything. This world is going the wrong way. I'm only one person. What can I do? And it gets really overwhelming. And believe me, I have had the days. I have had those days. It's okay to feel that way sometimes. It does get overwhelming sometimes, especially if you are an empath and you take in all that stuff. So the feeling is that you're one person and you truly can't make that much of a difference. But here's the thing. That's actually not true, because every time you think, you speak, or you act in ways that flow with the very best aspects of the source, the best frequencies of love and joy and potential and abundance and goodness and self-love and all of that, you're actually making a pretty darn big difference in the world, even if you don't see it right away. Okay. So even though we see ourselves as separate, we aren't, right? And that's the whole thing where we go back to like the to observe is to disturb, where the second you open your eyes in the morning, you are disturbing the waves around you in such a way that everything pops into being in alignment with your expectations, okay? Because of that, we've talked about it. We are all one. We're part of this like flowing energy of life that is creating and recreating itself based on the frequency of each sort of different perspective. That's where our collective unconscious, all of our individual perspectives come together. They create that collective unconscious, right? So like individual like notes in a song, each of us is putting our individual frequency toward the whole. And that changes, just like my daughter takes piano, just like changing a chord by changing one note. When each of us puts that note out there, we are changing the overall frequency of the world, of the universe, with the note we're choosing to play, right? And so the idea of this is, and we talked about kind of the principle of repetition, like whatever we think and feel, whatever we put our focus on again and again and again, it tunes our mind into a certain thing. It's a groove that starts to create those new neural pathways, and that's what we're seeking, right? So it's kind of that taken at a global level. So each thought or action that is a positive frequency with the overall frequency is raising our collective unconscious just a little bit. And it changes our collective experience because it has to. It's literally pulling up something from a different frequency from sort of the source hologram, right? When we collectively repeat that positive frequency with many minds, then that shift starts to tune us into a better way of life for all of us, okay? And that's where, again, I become very passionate about teaching people about their personal power, because that's how we change the world. Not only ourselves, we change the world, we change ourselves, we change the world for ourselves. So when you choose to co-create a moment in alignment with like the best things in life, you are adding those positive notes to the overall frequency, and it's helping to tune us all into a better existence. So when you continue to bring your awareness to this, when you continue to choose and again, not toxic positivity, not that. It's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, all of that. But when you choose to align each morning, each day, that's why I'm so big on like a morning practice, getting up, aligning yourself with the most positive frequencies right out of the gate. When you choose to do that over and over and over again, you are sending out a powerful signal that is shifting things for all of us, even if you can't see it. And it's a concept I call conscious evolution. So a lot of evolution happens at like a subconscious level, such as like the development of opposable thumbs, right? And it's essentially based on there was some stressors to a particular species. And because of those stressors, there was an evolution in order to survive, right? And a lot of times that was, again, subconscious, very subconscious thing. But in this case, if you consciously stay aware of your individual impact on the frequency of the collective hologram, you can choose to improve all of life on Earth by always choosing to tune your mind into the highest frequencies that you can at that moment in time, okay? This will also, by choosing this, and I can tell you this from personal experience and the multiple experience of working with people on private mentoring, it would also help you to evolve and stay connected to solutions and to problems that can have an impact on not only your own life, but the life of others. So if we think about the like inspired things that happen in life, where somebody gets this moment of inspiration and they suddenly see a solution to some massive problem that we've been all dealing with, and suddenly that impacts the collective humanity at a really powerful level, right? There's so many examples of people having this like flash of inspiration that ends up being a discovery or an invention that impacts us all on a positive level, right? I know when I've been connected to source, like when you guys get to station 7 in the book and the program, it's all about our connection to source, our sense of our life purpose, a sense of a higher power and higher purpose. And I have to tell you, like at 3 a.m, that part of that book just sort of channeled down to me. That was like that flash. I was aligned. And that part, I think that was the least edited part of the book by a long shot. Okay. So I just want to tell you that when we actively make the choice to tap into that unlimited potential in such an incredibly positive way, not only can we find better solutions for ourselves, but we're sending out a signal that increases the collective frequency in a positive way, pulling up more solutions for the world's problems, and indeed allowing us all to live a better life. Okay, that's why some of this is not only so powerful for you manifesting your dream life, but when you manifest your dream life, that higher frequency helps us all. Okay, so that's why it's not selfish to want to have your dream life. In fact, it's the best thing you could do is to use your personal power to have that. Okay, so this weekend, I want you to try a couple quick exercises. One is, I want you to try to have a non-judgment day. Okay. So in the non-judgment day, you are going to go through life that day and maybe see, like when you're going out in life and you see somebody that you think is very different from you, take a moment. Remember, we are all connected at a powerful level. Okay. And maybe even if it's somebody, that you're standing in line behind, at the coffee shop or something, maybe strike up a conversation. Just say, hey, it doesn't have to be a big drawn out conversation, just a quick connection or just a hi, and see what that connection feels like to you. Again, when we bring judgment out into the world, we have judgment coming back at us. So the more that we actively pursue that connection of oneness that we have, that is an incredibly powerful thing for all of us. I'd also like you to choose a day this weekend in general to be non-judgment day. Now, non-judgment day in general, what I'd like you to do is to try to not judge anything at all day long. Now, this is way more challenging than you might think it is. I actually personally do this every single week because it's such a good practice to remember that how quickly it is, how easily it is to get into a position of judgment where we've just decided that something is the way it is. And because of that, of course, we get back exactly what we expect. So take a minute throughout the day and just really try to bring your awareness all day long to how are you judging yourself? Okay. Do you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and think, oh God. I mean, there are mornings I do wake up and I look in the mirror, get crazy hair or whatever, but I have trained myself now to look in the mirror and go, hey, good morning, beautiful. Good morning, beautiful. Let's get this rolling today. And that is even if I don't feel so beautiful. Try thinking, are there people in your life you tend to judge? Can you take a moment and instead think of something positive or nice about that person? Again, not saying there's not bad people out there. There are, and it's okay. At that point, and I talk a lot about this with empaths, that's not judgment. That's actually just the truth. Like somebody is a bad person, they've been a mean person, they're an abusive person. I am not suggesting that suddenly your change in perspective on them is going to change a lot. It may not. It's very likely it won't. And there's like narcissists that are, unchangeable kinds of people. But if there are people in your life that you tend to be getting frustrated with, take a moment and just recognize, what are you judging them for? Sometimes it's, oh, that person's doing something different than me, right? And a lot of times we can get in that place of judgment, like somebody, oh, they're doing something different than me. That's the wrong way to do it, right? Did you know there was a study and they figured out there's 1,500 different ways to wash dishes? 1,500 for just washing dishes. And they all got the dishes washed, by the way. So there's really no right or wrong. There might be your preferred way of something, but there's really no right or wrong, okay? If you're in conversations where there's a lot of gossip or you have noticed that there's a lot of judgment, instead actively take a deep breath. One thing that works really well in those situations is actually slowing your breathing and aligning your breathing. And you're actually sending out that breathing to kind of help the resonance of the table. I have been in meetings that were so conflict filled, and by me slowing my breathing and actively sending out that signal of my breath going in and out, the resonance of the room changed and the reactions of people in that room changed. You can do that, and then you can choose to say something nice, okay? And at the end of the day, I'd love for you to journal about your experience. How hard was it for you to not judge yourself? How hard was it for you to not judge others? What did you learn about yourself and the way that you think automatically during this little experiment in this day, okay? So hopefully this one was really helpful. I'll post up these exercises as well in the group and also into the portal, the membership portal. Again, if you absolutely love this, I hope I'm helping you so much in your day-to-day life to feel better, feel stronger, manifest the things you desire, know that you have the power to do so. Please share this with those you love, and hopefully we can all impact the world in an even more positive place. All right. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday for Manifestation Meditation Monday. And I think we're going to be doing a really great meditation that Monday. So make sure to try to not miss that one. See you guys on Monday. Bye.